Hi and welcome to this talk all about apprenticeships today. My name is Dr. David Armson and I'm representing the National Apprenticeship Service today. And I'm here to kind of give an overview of apprenticeships and how to find apprenticeships and how to apply for apprenticeships. The reason I'm here and the reason I'm giving this talk is not to convince you all to do an apprenticeship, but to give you the information that you need to make an informed choice. There is still a lot of confusion around apprenticeships. There's still a lot of things that people don't quite understand about apprenticeships. So my job today is to try and clear all that up and to try and give you that information so that you can make an informed choice about the choices that you could be making when you leave school or even further down your career, or up the career ladder might be a better way of putting it, and be clear about those choices that you're going to make. So it's going to be a talk of two halves almost. The first half I'm going to talk generally about apprenticeships and I'll bring up a bit of a presentation about that and walk through those step by step. The second half of the presentation is going to be looking at a few different websites, looking at a few job opportunities and actually exploring what these sites can do for you to hopefully make that application process and that finding of that apprenticeship for yourself a little bit easier should you choose to go down that route. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up our presentation and we'll cover that question, what is an apprenticeship? And we'll cover that first. Okay, I do a lot of these talks. I do quite a few of them across the region. And I always start with that question, what is an apprenticeship? And get people to ask me. Now, on this forum, we can't quite get an answer this time round. However, I can give you some of the common ones. Quite often I'll get, it's that thing you do where you go a day to week to college and the other time you're in work, or it's a type of work experience. Or another one I get is it's volunteering in a job and you're kind of learning what you're doing. And I want to clear that up because it's absolutely key that we understand what an apprenticeship is in order for us to make that decision whether we want to actually pursue it. So what is an apprenticeship? Well, an apprenticeship, I always say, I would think of first and foremost is a job. The big advantage with an apprenticeship is you are actually in a workplace. You're actually doing the job that hopefully you want to continue your career in. So you're actually doing that job and gaining experience in that type of work. Now, you can actually start an apprenticeship at age 16. And the reason you can do that, and the reason that makes it a little bit different to just going and getting a job, is because as part of that apprenticeship, you're actually gaining and learning and working towards qualifications. And these are recognised qualifications that in the world of work, we would understand what they are. When you say, well, I've done a level 2 apprenticeship, and I'll cover that in a moment, we'd understand what you mean by that. So in very, very basic terms, apprenticeships are a job, but you are gaining qualifications and learning at the same time. And that's really good. That's a great way to start your career and to start getting the skills you require to move you along that career ladder, that you can get a foot on that ladder and start working towards qualifications. But let's try and put a bit more meat on the bones of actually what does that look like? Well, again, one of the things I quite often do is ask that question, okay, do you get paid for an apprenticeship? And I'll get a various answers. The answer is yeah, you do get paid for an apprenticeship. It's a job, it's a paid work, and you can get quite a significant sum. Now, what I will say about the payment of it, it's a job, therefore it is up to the employer how much they are going to pay you for that time as an apprentice. Now, nationally, the minimum wage you can get is £4.15 per hour for an apprenticeship, which is actually below the national minimum working wage. Now, there's a reason for that. The employer and the government are paying for your tuition fees, but as I have just said, it is up to the employer how much they pay you. So actually, more often than not, you're getting much more than that. And depending on the industry that you're going into and the business you're going into, indeed, you can get paid considerably more than that minimum wage as well. Again, coming back to one of my early points, don't just think of it as a job. It is actually a job. It's a real job. You're going to have real responsibilities. You're going to become as you progress through your apprenticeship, more and more part of the team and part of the business and industry that you are in. You're going to get real responsibilities as part of your apprenticeship. They're going to train you in a job and expect you to perform to the standards that are required as any professional, and actually do that job. So it's a real job. It's not just work experience. It's not just gaining a bit of volunteer experience. It's a real paid job with real responsibility. And they are for everybody. They are, and what I mean by that is, this is not a kind of, you must do them at 16, you must do them at 18, you must have this set of qualifications. An apprenticeship is something that you can take up at any time during your career if it fits. For example, there is no upper age limit on an apprenticeship. So actually, you could be applying for an apprenticeship and someone twice your age could be applying for exactly the same position. Equally, apprenticeships work on levels, which I'm going to talk about more in a moment. And those levels will more often than not kind of match or the sort of grade you may have, or may match the point you are in your education experience. So I'm going to cover it more in a minute, but if you've got your GCSEs, there's more often than not an apprenticeship that is there for you. Or if you've got your A levels, again, there may be an apprenticeship there for you as well. So it meets you at your need. Indeed, if you've got very few qualifications, or maybe you've missed some, just before apprenticeships, there's something called traineeships, which will help you get access to the apprenticeship route. That is not a job and that's not paid. That is work experience. But again, it just shows that we're trying to help people get into apprenticeships. And again, another thing about apprenticeships and the world of work is we're looking for a whole host of skills. We're not just looking for necessarily one type of student with a certain set of grades. We're looking for a whole host of people with different skill set to make a whole team. So that really means they are for everybody. And it does really mean that they are accessible for all as well. Another thing about apprenticeships is there are no fees to pay. I know, depending on where you're up to in your education, you'll have heard all about university fees and training fees and tuition fees and all this kind of stuff. With an apprenticeship, there are no costs to you. The government and the employer will pay all the tuition fees and training fees that go with your apprenticeship. So that's again, another benefit of the apprenticeship route. So that kind of tells you a little bit about what apprenticeships are in terms of money, in terms of what sort of job and qualification you are. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into all of those. But what they can be, and I think this is key with apprenticeships, and what makes them, I don't want to say completely different, but some of the plus factors for it is they can be a great way to start your career. They're a great way to lead to progression. So your apprenticeship is going to be for a fixed period of time. It will be a minimum of a year, but it could be a maximum of 6 years, depending on the qualification level you're working towards. But at the end of that time, be that a year or 6 years, more often than not, the employer is actually looking to employ you as a full-time employee. So if you just spend a year as an apprentice learning, at the end of that, more often than not, it's not a guarantee, but more often than not, the employer is looking for you to continue your employment with that company. So it's a great way to start that career and get your foot on the ladder, be trained in that industry, and then start in that career. The other thing that, and I want to kind of put this as a bit of a myth, really. A lot of people think that apprenticeships, well, if I go and do that, I'm just going to be not around people of my own age. I'm going to be people much older than me, training me how to do a job they've been doing for years. And in truth, that may happen, but more often than not, actually, apprenticeships are offered by firms who have been offering apprenticeships for a long time. So I know myself, I did an apprenticeship at 16 and I was surrounded by people who were sort of 18, 19, 20, who equally had gone through that apprenticeship route or indeed were doing an apprenticeship themselves. So this idea of you've got to go to university or college to get that great social life, there's some truth to it, but in truth, actually the apprenticeship route as well is a great way, and you have a great social life on there as well. And again, another myth I want to dispel is this one about, well, apprenticeships are just for those who don't want to go away, don't want to go to university. And again, that's not true. The apprenticeship route will allow you to relocate. Sometimes that's very self-motivated. And again, as I said about the wages, some of them are really good. So you might be looking to rent your first property. You might be looking to actually go and get a room somewhere and rent that room. That would come out of your own determination to do that. But alternatively as well, if you're with a big company and they actually require you to relocate, maybe it's as part of your training, quite often they will help you do that. So again, coming back to that, it's not just for people who want to stay at home and who are a bit frightened to go off to college or university. It is for everybody. And if you are looking to move away, there may be an opportunity there as well. The final thing I'll do on these sort of slides for now is, and the final one I want to cover is something that, and this is a real myth that we really do need to dispel now, is apprenticeships are for those who just don't get the grades, or apprenticeships are for those who haven't quite achieved enough to go to university. That is not true. Apprenticeships now, more than ever, are really competitive. And if you want to get an apprenticeship, you're going to have to stand out. The number of apprenticeships compared to the number of university places is not even in the same league. We're nowhere near as high, that number. So you're going to have to make yourself stand out. Your grades still matter. Your grades still count. Any work experience, any volunteering you've done, all still matter to put on that CV and that job application to make yourself stand out and actually get the opportunity of going and doing an apprenticeship. They're not the easy option. And quite often I get quite frustrated with people saying, well, I've not got my grades. I'm just going to go and do one of them apprenticeships, even up to the degree apprenticeships, which I'll cover in a moment. People go, well, I'm just going to go and get one of them degree apprenticeships. It doesn't work like that. It still really matters you getting your grades and achieving the best that you can at school. So that's really kind of a brief and a quick overview of them all. But another myth I want to kind of get rid of now is I often ask what sort of industries do you think are covered or businesses do you think offer apprenticeships? And still, even today, even though it's been not this way for a long time, I'll still get the usual electricians, mechanics, occasionally I'll get hairdressers. But generally I'm getting those heavy industries like plumbing and manufacture, things like that. I'm getting that all the time. The truth of the matter is things have changed in the apprenticeship world. That may have been the case a couple of decades ago, but actually certainly in recent times, the number and breadth of apprenticeships on offer is just growing all the time. For example, these are just a short list of apprenticeships. This is not all of them by any chance, by any stretch of the imagination, but you can see we've got accounting, we've got dental nursing, we've got creative digital, cybersecurity, legal services. There's just a small selection on that screen of types of careers that you could be getting into. Legal services, for example, you can now become a solicitor through the apprenticeship route. Go back 10 years ago, that just would not have happened. There was no way that was happening. Even less than 10 years ago, that wasn't happening. But because of the offer of apprenticeships, because of the benefits that it brings to employers, actually there's a whole new host of industries opening up. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because I don't want you to be sat there thinking, do you know what, it's not for me. I know I've got to go to university. I know I've got to get that degree. I know I've got to get that qualification. And I'm not even going to look at apprenticeships. What I'm just asking you to and encouraging you to do is to actually at least consider an apprenticeship and have a look at if that career that you may have in mind is possible through the apprenticeship route. It may offer you a fantastic opportunity with an employer that maybe you didn't even expect would offer that apprenticeship and give you a chance. I'm going to show you a website at the end, or a couple of websites at the end, which will allow you to explore that a little bit more and give you the opportunity to find out more information. So I'm going to stop talking there, but I can't encourage you enough to go away and at least have a look at who is offering apprenticeships and what apprenticeships they're offering and the sort of qualifications you may be able to get on the end of that as well, because all these guys offer them. These are just a very small selection of employers, but you'll probably recognise almost every single logo on there. And kind of have a vague understanding of what they do. So, for example, if I say Rolls-Royce, we all know that they make cars, and I'd be expecting there to be some form of automotive apprenticeship in there as well. However, Apprenticeships, 50%, about 50% of them are offered by big name employers that we recognise. And that's great. That means there's a fantastic opportunity for you to start your career with a really fantastic company. However, the flip side of that is we all think we know what they do. We know that British Airways, well, they make their planes, so they'll do maybe they'll do a cabin crew apprenticeship. Maybe they'll do a pilot apprenticeship. They might even do kind of something building airplanes. I don't know. I'm not sure. That might be what's going through your brain. The truth of the matter is all of those on there offer a whole host of job roles. So IBM, for example, another one on there. You might think, well, I'm not a techie person, so I'm not even going to bother looking at them. However, they might have a financial apprenticeship. They might have a project management apprenticeship. They might have a marketing apprenticeship. We've got to find ways, and you've got to go away and, again, do your research about the different companies and what they're offering. It's far too easy to overlook a logo or because we think we know what they're doing and we don't even look there when actually we could be missing a fantastic opportunity. And again, I'm going to show you a website at the end of this as part of the second part that will help clear that up a little bit more so you can know where to find out a bit more about those apprenticeships. What I would say on that note as well, apprenticeships will be a different experience depending on the employer you're with. And I showed you all those big name companies and they will offer a fantastic apprenticeship and it's going to look amazing on your CV as well. But what I would say is apprenticeships, and I'm going to cover this in a moment, they work to levels. So if you've got a digital apprenticeship with IBM to a level 3, fantastic, great. However, if you also had an opportunity to do a digital apprenticeship with a local IT firm that's the same, and it would be more specific than digital apprenticeship, but if it was the same qualification, you would be coming out with the same qualification on the end of it. So same level, you'd be coming out with the same qualification on the end of it. So don't let necessarily just the small company put you off taking their apprenticeship. The advantage of a small company, you actually become part of that team and integrate into that team very quickly. And you may actually get bigger responsibilities quicker because they may have fewer staff to spread those responsibilities around. However, with a big company, you may be in amongst a lot of people and it's going to be a little bit more competitive. However, they are going to be able to offer you opportunities maybe abroad, maybe in different parts of the country that a small local firm wouldn't be able to offer you. So again, doing your research, having a look around will help you make that decision over what is the right choice for you should you look at apprenticeships. But I've mentioned levels now and I've mentioned those qualifications. So let's have a look at that. Okay. Apprenticeships, the qualifications are called levels. Or we work in levels, is the better way of putting it. So a level 2 intermediate apprenticeship is something that we would recognise in industry. So if you had a level 2 in, say, a creative digital role, software developer, let's go for that one. A level 2 is software developer. We would understand what that means in industry. What that actually means in reality is you've got a vocational qualification. And a vocational qualification means, just to clear that language up a little bit, you've learned by doing. Doesn't mean there's not any written work included. Doesn't mean you won't have to maybe do some exams or some assessments somewhere. But the majority of your learning is going to be done actually on the job, learning by doing. So it's a vocational qualification. These might be an MVQ, they might be a BTEC. There's a whole host of vocational qualifications out there. But that level 2 equates to roughly 5 GCSEs at a grade 4 or above. That's roughly how you could equate it in your mind. A level 3 is roughly the equivalent of 2 A-levels at a grade C or above. So you can see there is a bit of comparable, and we would understand this in industry as well. So when you're in school, if you're coming at the end of your GCSEs and looking for a apprenticeship, I would be encouraging you, if you've got those grades, to actually be starting to look for a level 3 in the industry that you want to. Now, the industry you're looking into might only offer a level 2. They might only offer a level 3. They may not go up into the upper ones. But wherever that is, that's giving you the skills and knowledge for that industry. If you've got your A-levels, you're probably going to be looking further up this table, further to the right, to the level 4 to 7s. A level 4 is roughly the equivalent again, and it is roughly the equivalent of maybe a year at university, that first foundational understanding of the industry you're getting into. A level 5 is roughly 2 years experience in university. So now getting quite a deep knowledge base in the industry that you're looking to be in. And apprenticeships used to stop there until 2015 when we had degree apprenticeships come on, or a level 6. So you can see all of them from 4 upwards are higher ones, but when we get to level 6, it's what we call a higher degree apprenticeship. And this is not kind of like a qualification or similar to a qualification. If you did a level 6 apprenticeship, you would have a degree exactly the same as if you went to university and did those standard 3 years at university to gain that qualification. That's an amazing offer. That's fantastic. Again, it would still be vocational. However, I would say with that option, you are still going to be doing a lot of written work and doing the same sort of assessments that you will be doing as university as well. Big advantage, you've actually got some form of knowledge in industry to actually put that to use in writing those assessments, etc. So you could be gaining degree exactly the same through the apprenticeship route. A level 7 is a master's. So you would naturally do that after a degree anyway. So I'm not going to talk about those too much. But all of those qualifications fall under them same rules that we discussed at the beginning. Throughout them all, you'll be paid. There'll be no cost to you, including the degree level. So you would be coming out of that without having to pay those tuition fees. The employer and the government would pay those. So actually, on the end of that, you're coming out with a degree, debt-free as well. So that's a fantastic offer. And more likely than not, with a job on the end of it. I think by the time you get to degree level, almost certainly that employer has spent a lot of time, effort and resource getting you those qualifications. So there's going to be a job for you on the end of it. That's a fantastic offer. That's why these things, apprenticeships, are so competitive and you have to make yourself stand out to get them as well. So we've covered the levels there as well. It's a really key thing, though, that bar underneath those are the levels where it says skills, knowledge and behaviours. I can't tell you enough how much as employers we like people with job experience or work experience. We love it when we know that those people are well versed in the world of work. It sounds a bit of a daft sentence, that, but actually, we know by the fact that you've been employed for some time that you're reliable, that you can turn up on time, that you've done the job before, that we're not going to have to teach you how to act in meetings, we're not going to have to teach you how to greet people, etc. So it's a real advantage to have that work experience. Going through full-time education onto university, you may not actually encounter the world of work until you finish your degree. You may have a Saturday job, you may have done other jobs in between, but you may not have actually been in the workplace and employed those skills. With the apprenticeship, you will have. It's par for the course, for want of a better way of putting it. You'll actually turn up doing the job. You'll be involved in meetings. You'll be involved in turning up on time. You will just learn the skills and knowledge that goes with the workplace by the nature of apprenticeships. That's why employers are increasingly coming back to apprenticeships and using them to train their staff and to gain new employees as well. One thing that does worry people, though, as well about those qualifications, I keep saying about university, etc. You are going to have to study to the same level of university if you was doing a level 6, for example. You are going to have to study to the same level as A levels if you was doing a level 3. And people panic a little bit going, well, that sounds a lot. I've got to hold down a full-time job and I've got to study at the same time. This sounds like hard work. And it is, I'll say that as well. But something has changed recently that should help you and hopefully will help you not get too worried about that. And it's this. All employers now have to give you 20% of your time off the job to gain those qualifications. And what I mean by off the job, it doesn't mean you're going to be at home or necessarily. It could be that you're in the workplace and rather than actually doing that day-to-day job that you've been trained in, they'll actually say, okay, we're going to put you with another person today and you're going to watch them and they're going to train you on the next step of your progression. It's a way of guaranteeing that you're going to actually get that progression, that training. You might have to do online learning, so they might get sent away and go, okay, yeah, you are actually at home and you're going to do an online course today. You've got to dial in here, etc. You might be back in the classroom. Certainly some careers, such as the legal one I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to pass exams. You are going to have to pass them to practice professionally. So you may end up back in the classroom for part of your learning. Or indeed, you might end up at college or university or a training provider to actually gain further qualifications as well and gain those qualifications as part of your apprenticeship. That last one there, that's where a lot of people get that you spend a day a week at college, because obviously if you were a day a week at college of a 5-day week, that would equate to your 20% of training. But all employees have to commit to that, so you will get time to progress your career, to do some of that study and to actually increase that knowledge base. Gone are the days where, for example, in my apprenticeship, I used to come in on a Saturday and do it off my own back. Now it's all as part of that apprenticeship experience. So hopefully that's helped you kind of understand the levels a bit more. Hopefully you've understood a few of the industries covered, although we're going to explore that more in a minute. But hopefully that's brought you up to speed a little bit more about what apprenticeships are and hopefully cleared a few questions up. There's plenty of information on the next website called Amazing Apprenticeships I'm going to show you. But it's no good me talking here and saying, well, this is an apprenticeship, isn't that great? And that's wonderful. What's useful for you now is to kind of go away and start doing the research yourself and actually start to look at apprenticeships. You may not be at the point of applying quite yet. If you are looking to apply for an apprenticeship, degree ones start to be advertised about November time, and they run through to about April, May time, where they tend to decrease in number again. If you're just looking for an apprenticeship of different levels, not the degree ones, they're advertised all the time. And you could actually go away and start looking at them now to understand what sort of grades, what sort of skills you need to be getting to really stand the chance of getting an apprenticeship. And there's some really good places to look. So obvious places to look on general websites, job websites. So plenty of job sites out there with recruitment, which will advertise the position, etc. Go on there and just type in your apprenticeships and they will come up and you can kind of have a look at what's in there. There's various sector job sites, as they call them. So you might find certain industries have representatives and certain groups have representatives, and you go on their websites and they'll tell you a lot more about what qualifications to look for, the type of person, the type of skills you're going to need. Goes exactly the same for company websites as well. Most company websites will have a job section on there or a careers section. Go and have a look, type in apprenticeships and what's on there. Another one, social media. Follow the companies that you think you're interested in. If you know the type of job you want, if you know the type of industry you want to get into, follow their social media sites, especially if they have a particular one for apprenticeships. You're going to find the latest news there. And then family and friends. Ask around a little bit, especially those people you know who've recently done an apprenticeship. I am going to caveat that one a little bit and just say, be careful who you speak to, because if you speak to someone who did their apprenticeship 30 years ago, it's going to be very different today to what they did. So it's okay to speak to family and friends. I would say if they're either involved in apprenticeships, either delivering them or recruiting for them, or if someone has recently done an apprenticeship. And again, of course, you've got people like the National Careers Service that you could go and have a look on as well. But a few things to remember before you go and do that. All of these things all these job sites, the ones for recruitment, are live. So you might type in a search today and get very few results. You might type in the same search next week and get a lot of results. They're constantly changing. New jobs come on, old ones go off. So you need to get in place a kind of routine where you check on these things. Sign up for newsletters. It's great if you're getting newsletters into your emails that go, we're going to open our recruitment window in 3 weeks' time. It gives you maximum time to actually get applications ready and get them in. And it's really important because point 3 there points out really well. As soon as you see the job you want, make it your goal to get your application in. Make it your goal to actually get that information to them as quickly as possible. Couple of reasons. One, sometimes they're application limited. Some of the big firms certainly might get hundreds of applications and they might stop once they reach a certain number and take that job down. So it's advantageous to get it in early. But equally, getting in early, it kind of lands in someone's inbox and gives us time to read it as employers and look at it. And maybe we'll just spend a little bit more time looking at that because it's helpful for us. Other thing, make sure you are applying on time and giving yourselves time. Make sure you're giving the information you need. Make sure you're looking where they want. Make sure you're looking at what they want and providing that information. And equally, the last one I would say is contact companies. If you spot an apprenticeship that you really like, phone them and just say, I've seen this opportunity, and have a few questions written down about what you would like to ask about that apprenticeship. How long is it if it doesn't tell you on the advert? What sort of thing would I be doing day to day, etc., etc. It makes a really good impression on an employer if you go and phone them, if you actually go and speak to them about what their apprenticeships are and what they're offering. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Hopefully that brings you up to speed a little bit more about what you should start doing and how you can begin that research. So on the back of that, I like to show you a few websites that are really useful for that as well. So I'm going to switch to a web browser. I'm hoping this is going to work smoothly. So let's just have a look at the first one. And these are apprenticeship specific to an extent. I'm not going to show you job sites simply because you can go and do that again and again. There's so many out there that the one I show you might not be the one you use particularly, and you're going to have to spend some time finding the ones that are bringing up the jobs that you want as well. The ones I'm going to show you are apprenticeship focused, and the first one I kind of want to show you is one called Amazing Apprenticeships. Now, Amazing Apprenticeships, this has recently been updated, so this is hot off the press. Literally within the last couple of weeks of this filming in early November, this has gone live. And it's called Amazing Apprenticeships, but actually it's got a good deal of more information on there about things such as T-levels, traineeships, etc. There's support for schools and other people, but equally for teachers and parents is on there. So you might be sat here going, well, I want to get my parent involved. I want them to understand they want to go and do an apprenticeship. I need to give them information. There's information on this website for them as well. But what I particularly want to draw out for you guys is we're going to actually click and look specifically at the apprenticeship section. And there's some really good resources on here. It tells you a little bit more about what apprenticeship is, talks about what I've been talking about, but a really good couple of slides, these first ones. Vacancy snapshot, find an apprenticeship, and apprenticeship resources. Now the resources section, I'll start there. That is for parents, teachers, pupils as well. And in there's lots of packs about the sort of skills you're going to need, about the subjects, linking them to jobs that you might be interested in, and what you're going to need. So there's a whole host of resources in there to look at. I'm not going to go into that because you can explore that at your own leisure. The one I really want to show you first is Vacancy Snapshot. Vacancy Snapshot is from those big employers that we've talked about. Spent a lot of time getting employees to tell you a little bit about themselves. So I'm going to pick one fairly at random. So let's go for Morrison's, a brand we probably all know and have probably even shopped in maybe. And we might expect, well, they're just going to be retail. They're just going to offer shelf stacking or till work, etc. Maybe that's what you're thinking. I didn't realise just how many skills they were looking for in Morrison's until I started speaking to them a couple of years back. And they look for all kinds of stuff. So this website, Vacancy Snapshot, doesn't really matter which one you click on. They're going to look roughly the same. But the first page is always telling you a little bit more about apprenticeships at Morrison's in general. Tell you the kind of things you're going to get, and the benefits and what you're going to get as part of that apprenticeship. Worth having a little read, I think. Okay, as you scroll down, you'll go to program details. Program details are a little bit more, and this differs on each one slightly, but the information generally says what courses they're offering, what will actually happen, what will happen, course fees, etc., and duration of their apprenticeships. And again, I hope that that's reaffirming what I've already said, to actually say what we will be looking at in terms of that. On the right-hand side there, you can see they're offering a whole host of different types of apprenticeships, everything from finance. Don't know whether you thought about that with the Morrisons, but obviously need a finance department, manufacturing, logistics, retail, food technology. Someone once, when I was speaking to them from Morrisons, said, we're looking for robotic technicians sometimes, because we've got machines that we need them to fix and maintain, etc. So that'll tell you a little bit more about what they're offering, and again gives you a good link to the website directly. Again, they'll all offer you a little bit of behind the scenes. Some do this through various videos. Some do like this one, just a bit of writing from the apprentices themselves. So you start to hear a little bit more about the apprenticeships in general. After that, as you scroll down that page, you'll come to application hints and tips. And again, this is really useful to spend time looking over, and is useful to do now so you start to understand what employers are looking for. So, people taking time to learn about Morrison's, people turning up to the interview well informed about Morrison's. That helps. It says there on the second from the bottom line on the right, it says use the STAR approach. Do you know what that is? Go away and research it. Have a look so you understand what they're looking for before you apply. Basically, they're giving you hints and tips of how to give that chance for you to be selected for an interview or to go to an assessment centre, etc., as part of the Morrison's team. And then more information usually gives you links, etc., about what to find out and where to find out more information. The one I want to go back to at this stage, though, is employer overview. As I said just earlier on, this website is going to give you this vacancy snapshot. Whichever employer you click on is going to look roughly the same, and they're all going to have quite a bit of writing behind them. But they'll all have this button here, this time to apply. Now, this maybe have been updated recently. They're currently reviewing, it says there on that box. But this is a really useful form. It looks a bit dull, I guess. But actually, this is really useful if you know the sort of industry that you want to get into. So we talked about finance for Morrison's. This form is really quite useful. They all lead to here. They all have links to where to go and find the vacancies and where to apply. But the reason I find this really useful is, say I want to get into finance, I can see just by scanning down this apprenticeships include column, finance. Oh, the Arts Council's offering that. Airbus are offering finance. Who else have we got? BA Systems, they're offering finance. And you can quickly scroll down and gives you a kind of insight as to who's offering what this year. So if you know the sort of industry you want to get into and you're pretty keen on apprenticeships, this is a really good way of finding out what each employer is offering this year and where you could be applying to do that. Again, I'm going to allow you to go away and have a look at that on your own time to actually find out more about that. To look at that. So I'm going to head back to this amazing apprenticeship website. So you can see that's where we just headed back to where we clicked on that vacancy snapshot. The next one I want to show you is find an apprenticeship. This one here. If you click on that, it's going to take you to this page up here. Find an apprenticeship. This is the government website. I will say about it doesn't look the most attractive. It's got that monochrome government branding. But as part of that, this is a really useful recruitment website. Now, this is a live job site specifically for apprenticeships. And what I'm going to encourage you to do with this one is to actually create an account. And you click to create an account here, and it will lead you through a very simple form. Name, address, contact telephone number, email address, that sort of thing. You're not actually applying for anything at that stage. You're just setting up an account. The reason I'm encouraging you to set up an account is because you can actually get this site to email you or text you back when a new job that meets your search comes up. So if I just click on the search page, once you've set up your account, it would take you to this page. And here is basically, it's asking you to enter your search criteria. Now in your postcode, you would normally have that already set up because you've created an account. And what I'm going to do from here is just quickly do a search on all apprenticeships at the moment. Okay. And you'll see this is all apprenticeships across England. Now, normally that number is around the 12,000 to 13,000 vacancies available. Don't let that put you off. Remember what I said before. The vacancies are changing all the time. Some will appear tomorrow, some will disappear today. They're constantly changing. That number's low because we've just entered another lockdown period that's again made it slightly harder for companies to start opening up recruitment, etc. We're hoping that come sort of post-Christmas, etc., that these numbers are going to increase again as we get onto the sort of better side of Christmas for that. But as we scroll down, I can then use these search functions to start to find out a little bit more about what I want to do. So maybe I don't want to travel across England. Maybe I only want to travel within 20 miles of where I live. Again, I can just update those results and we start to get into things a little bit more close to home. As you can see, I put a Neston postcode in there. And what I'd advise at this point, you just scroll down and you try and find ones that you may be interested in applying for. The reason I'm going to say that to you is because actually, as you're going along looking through these, you might spot ones you're interested in and then notice the title or what they're actually asking for as part of their title. Quite often I'll deliver this workshop and people go, well, I do computer science at school and you type computer science in your job search and it brings up nothing. Because in industry, we don't speak in computer science. We're looking for software developers. We're looking for IT. We're looking for cybersecurity. So have a look down when you start to see jobs that you like. Just note what's in their title. And then once you find something, you can actually click into them and start having a look at them. So again, this is a sales consultant. I've literally picked this at random. Next Retail Limited, a brand I'm sure we all know. And it'll tell you your weekly wage. It'll tell you what you're working on, your expected duration of your apprenticeship, and your possible start date, etc. This is a level 2, so it's around that GCSE grade again. So again, accessible even at the GCSE level. And it'll tell you what the kind of things you're handling and the benefits. And as you scroll down, and again, this is a website where whichever one you open up is going to look roughly the same in terms of format, but it will tell you the desired skills and personal qualities. When you're applying for apprenticeships or any job indeed, make sure you're telling them that you've got the skills that they desire. So being trustworthy, is there a way you can write about that and tell them and in a way that you can prove you're trustworthy? Or have you done any stock keeping before for this third one down? And working quickly, is there any way you can evidence that? Did you do something last minute? And I don't mean an assignment. I mean someone asked you to do something to kind of save the day. Did you do that? And can you tell them about personal qualities, friendly, calm, efficient? If you've got a SAT job working in a restaurant, for example, or if you've got some form of customer-based SAT job, again, you can evidence that, talk about it in your application, etc. Tells you all about it. And with all of these, right at the top of the page, you've got an Apply Now button and a closing date. If I'm interested in that, if that's something I'm kind of keen on, I can click and apply through that. But if we just go back a page slightly, we just click back on this page to here. So I'm starting to find out the applications I want. So I'm actually going to try and slim it down. And this time I am going to put in software, for example, and just search that one and update my results on that one. And of course, my computer's going to decide to stop working on me there. What I'm trying to demonstrate there, as soon as my computer's just frozen slightly, is once you start putting this in here and you start getting this number where it says 232, I'm expecting if I'm searching software, it might go down to say 40 on there. You can then click this button once you've set up your account, receive alerts for this search, and it will start emailing you or texting you when a search meets up that has software in the title that's within 20 miles of your location. And you could even set up the standard that you wanted to work towards as well. It'll only email you or text you if it meets those requirements. So actually, that's a really good way of getting that information to you in a timely fashion. Finally, the last page that I do want to show you, and just to kind of evidence this, depending on where you're up to in your school career, you may have found UCAS and you may have been talking about UCAS for some time, but UCAS is another site where it's worth typing in apprenticeships, searching that term. Hopefully this one works, it certainly does. And they've got a whole apprenticeship section there as well. Again, it's a live vacancy job site, so you can see some of these are offering fantastic wages. I would expect that's going to have some experience with it, with that sort of wage. But you can see they're going to be looking for IT network engineer. So again, going back to that, finding the right words, it might be IT network you have to type in, a level 4. So again, just on from your A-levels. Again, it's just a live vacancy job site that I'm not going to teach you how to use again. I want you to go away and explore it. But they're there to use. Make sure that you're giving all of those people, again, if I just click on another one, this again will have desirable skills, etc. When you apply, some of these job sites will just have standard formats. Sometimes they'll ask you for a CV and a cover letter. Hopefully you'll know what your CV is and you've been working on those. A cover letter is a way for you to talk about why you want the job and the skills that you could bring for the job. So in that, I would be writing about it and making sure I'm trying to tick off these strong written skills in English. That stands alone depending on how good your cover letter is. But, desire, passionate for marketing, organised. Is there something you can use? Have you developed a website? Have you marketed something yourself? Maybe, marketed things within your school even that you can use as evidence as part of that. Again, it tells you desired qualifications again. They're all going to tell you roughly the same information, but they're 3 of the best places I would say to start that search. So coming back to me, hopefully that's been useful. Hopefully that's helped you see what apprenticeships are and given you a good head start on some of the easy websites and what I think are probably the most accessible websites for apprenticeships and pointing you in the right direction. There's plenty of places to go for help. If you've got careers advisors at school, they're a good place to start. But that amazing apprenticeship website is a really good place to start. The National Careers Service, another good group of people to go and actually start inquiring of. And indeed, employees themselves are another good people to go to. If you know you're interested in their apprenticeship specifically, go and speaking to them, asking what sort of things do I need to do and what will make me stand out as part of your application process when you're applying for apprenticeships. So hopefully that's helped. Hopefully that's been a useful session. I realise it was quite a lot of talking and quite a lot of me showing websites. Unfortunately, it's part of the world we're in now. That makes it a bit difficult to do anything else. But hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully that's given you a lot of resources to start on. If there are any questions, please do go to the National Apprenticeship Service. There's help there. There's people on that amazing apprenticeship website can help as well. But I wish you all the best of luck with apprenticeships. Hopefully some of you are now excited and enthused to go away and have a look. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.